The Philadelphia Phillies mean business this year. As if that was not clear enough by the product that they've put on the field, having the best record in the MLB, sending a record number of players to the All-Star break, they showed it once again by releasing Whit Merrifield. Now we know how every player, every bat, every pitch matters when it comes to October and November baseball that we hope to get into once again this year. And they showed that by getting rid of Whit Merrifield and improving a little more. I want to dive into what this specifically means for this Phillies team, why I think it's so important, why I think it's notable that this happened now, and overall, why I do feel a little bit bad for Whit Merrifield overall. So I want to start off with this article here that writes that the July 30th trade deadline is approaching. They need to decide how they want to improve their 26-man roster. Do they spend resources on a right-handed hitting outfielder? Do they get another late-inning reliever? Do they do both? To make the best decision possible, they released three-time All-Star Whit Merrifield on Friday, less than 5 months after he signed a one-year, $8 million contract. Merrifield, 35, hit just .199 with 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a .572 OPS over 174 plate appearances. He ranked last in average exit velocity, 83 miles per hour, out of 322 players with a minimum 100 balls in play. Quote, "We're trying to get a little more thump from the right side," Phillies manager Rob Thomson said. "We thought it was going to be Whit. As hard as he worked at it, it's a tough job. It just wasn't coming." And I do feel bad for Whit Merrifield because this is not a situation for a guy who dogged it or who wasn't up to it. It simply did not work out. That guy tried every single night. That guy competed. He was a good locker room guy. He seemed well liked by everyone. But the reality is he just was not made for what this team needs on the baseball diamond. And for Whit Merrifield, it's a little bit of a different role than he's accustomed to. As the article mentioned, that he is a former All-Star. He's got a very accomplished resume at the MLB level. And I do think it was still the worthwhile move for this Phillies team. That I still understand conceptually why they went that direction, why they thought this could work. That he's a utility player. He's logged some minutes in games at a variety of positions for this Phillies team. I was even hoping during the little injury-ridden stretch that they just recently survived that maybe he could find his stride a little bit more with him finding more consistent at-bats and playing more on a night-to-night basis, but it just did not fully play out. And to dive into his stats overall, take a look at him throughout his career, you can see this accomplished, just really career overall, that he's bounced around, played for a number of teams, and been productive just about every spot. The Phillies has been the lone exception to that. A 9-year vet, you can see all these stats that he has producing. A guy that has led the league in a number of categories such as hits twice, at-bats 3 times, games played 3 times. He's a guy that is very competitive in all these type of things. It just did not work out here in Philadelphia. And to dive into a couple more specifics for what his batting splits look like and why it did not quite work out, I did want to pull this up as well. And in this article, it writes that Whit Merrifield was an All-Star at 2 different stops before arriving in Philadelphia this season, but his fit with the Phillies didn't work, and he was released Friday before their final series of the first half. Merrifield hit .199, .277, and .295 in 174 plate appearances. That is rough. That, and I'll interject here real quick, that makes Johan Rojas look like Mickey Mantle right there. So I hate to see it for the guy Whit, but the numbers just aren't there. And the article continues, he started 20 games in left field, 12 at second base, and 8 at third base. He had a couple of moments, most notably a 3-run homer against the Mets in London, but the lack of regular playing time didn't suit him. He went 7 for 46, which is just .152, with runners in scoring position, joking after the homer in London that he'd stranded the entire Premier League. The Phillies signed the 35-year-old utility man to a 1-year, $8 million contract just as spring training camps opened. He seemed like a worthwhile finishing piece as an option in left field against left-handed pitchers or to occasionally spell Bryson Stott or Alec Bohm in the infield. Merrifield entered the season a .284 career hitter, and while there was slippage after 2021, he remained an above-average base runner with defensive versatility. Again, this was a move that made sense in theory, but just did not play out. And I think with this Phillies team specifically, when you do have the hitting deficiencies, particularly in the outfield, with Nick Castellanos, you know how hot and cold he is, and when he is cold, he is ice cold and really difficult there. A guy like Brandon Marsh, who still can't hit left-handed hitters, and there's a lot of platoon situations, and Johan Rojas, still not clear on if he's going to be capable of surviving real-deal high-level MLB at-bats, despite what he brings on the defensive end. So there is not this perfect polish in the outfield as far as what these guys can bring, and that's why that makes maximizing these spots even more important. Now, I did mention I like what Merrifield quite a bit, and kind of to throw a little bit of an example for who he is as a guy, something that won me over. There was this Twitter interaction here that this random guy tweets out, "Do you think even at Whit Merrifield's family buys his jersey? He just can't seem to get it going in Philly." To which Whit replies himself, Obviously not. In fact, they all changed their last names by May 1st, hoping to get them to change it back by October. They did buy all 3 of my All-Star jerseys, though, with a little wink there, which I appreciated. And the guy comes back at Whit saying, "What I said was mean, but I'm really just hoping for more production at the plate. Defense is solid. Go Phillies." And Whit replies to that, "Nobody wants to make outs. We all work daily to be better than we were yesterday. We're also the best team in baseball, so sit back and try and enjoy it while we go out there and work to get better. It's okay to have fun. We sure are." So again, I just really love the outlook, the approach, and again, he was trying. I do appreciate him having a little bit of fun with it, and it is bold of the fan to throw an right at him there. So good for Whit for kind of calling him out there, and disappointing that this is the end of his story in Philadelphia. But in reality, what this should do is send a message to the entire team that this is as all-in of a year as could possibly be for this Phillies team. That we've seen them come up just short in back-to-back season in the playoffs. It feels like they have every ingredient for a real-deal World Series team, but we know how slim the margins are, and the probably correct decision that was calculated by Dave Dombrowski is that Whit Merrifield was a guy that did not quite fit into those championship margins. So for the Phillies now, in the short term, they'll get a little bit of an extra trial with Weston Wilson there. See, plenty of names that will get a little bit of expanded opportunity, and obviously there was a bit of a rest during the All-Star break, so hopefully there will be full health for this team that's ready to go right back at it and attack it the way that things seem fit. But the reality is he's going to get busy ahead of the trade deadline, and the hope will be that the final pieces will be added to this team to truly make a World Series champion. Overall, we'll see what happens, but still a lot to go down in the Phillies world. I do want to hear from you guys, though. Let me know what you think in the comments. Drop your thoughts on Whit Merrifield, whether or not, how you feel about it. I honestly wouldn't have minded if they had stuck it out a little more, but in the meantime, we'll see who that better player that they ultimately come up with is. As always, make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. We got a ton to go down still right here on Phillies Digest. We are just hitting the home stretch for the second half of the season. I have plenty of playoff baseball that I cannot wait to dive into. I do think this team is in it for the long haul, and so are we. So make sure you are smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video, any comments you have below, and I'll be talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.